Hull, open three. Oh, what a sight for Lexie Hull. She has needed that one to drop.
Caitlin Clark's sideline reaction to Lexie Hull's shot told an entire story without a single word. She's been sitting out, watching her team grind without her. And in that moment, her teammate, who had been battling the worst shooting stretch of her career, finally knocked down a three. Clark leapt out of her seat, fists pumping, grinning like it was her own bucket. And honestly, it might as well have been. Because that make it didn't just count for 3 points on the scoreboard, it was the spark that would light up one of the Fever's most complete performances of the season. And here's the thing, this wasn't supposed to happen. Not without their superstar, not without a point guard. On paper, this was supposed to be a grind-it-out, keep-it-close type of night. Instead, Indiana came out and delivered a statement win that shook up the playoff picture. The Chicago Sky didn't just lose, they got dismantled. Comment Fever Show down below if you're riding with Lexie and the crew, because this was special.
We're back home, baby, let's go! Back in the W column. Well, I got the challenge. That's a big dub, baby. Point guard.
Big dub.
Now let's rewind a bit and set the stage. The Fever were already walking into this game on shaky ground. Their West Coast trip had kicked off like a dream-dominant wins, a confident rhythm, and a sense that this young team was finally starting to click. The ball was moving, the defense was sharp, and even without their superstar on the floor, it felt like they had discovered a formula for success. But then, almost overnight, the momentum vanished. Like a plot twist that nobody had scripted, reality hit hard. 2 straight losses, and not just ordinary setbacks. These were the type of defeats that exposed cracks in the foundation. Against Phoenix, they were bullied in the paint, losing the rebounding battle and struggling to establish any kind of interior presence. Against Los Angeles, the story was effort the Sparks simply outworked them, diving for loose balls, running in transition, and forcing Indiana to look a step behind all night. The combined effect of those games left more than just 2 losses in the standings. They planted seeds of doubt. Were the Fever really built to withstand adversity, or had they just been riding a hot streak? Had they been overachieving this whole time, winning on energy and momentum rather than stability and depth? Fans who were celebrating a potential playoff push suddenly had flashbacks to the struggles of previous seasons. Analysts started to whisper that the Fever might be crumbling at exactly the wrong moment. Even the players felt the weight. You could see it in their body language, the frustration after missed shots, the slumped shoulders after defensive lapses. The West Coast trip that was supposed to be a launching pad for Indiana's playoff dreams had quickly turned into a wake-up call. The Fever weren't just facing tough opponents. They were facing themselves, their flaws, their resilience, and their ability to respond when things didn't go according to plan.
You know, obviously we lost our last 2, but I think, I don't know, that LA one felt good for us because we didn't quit. And then, you know, life happened the other night at the Valley, so we could have looked at it like, oh, woe is me, and, you know, we don't have enough players, and we didn't. So shout out to our group for just staying like confident and staying ready because, you know, it's a professional league and we have to be ready and we can't make too many excuses about it because no one's going to hand us anything. So we might as well look at it for what it is and keep showing up.
And if that wasn't enough bad news, there was the Caitlin Clark situation, the shadow hanging over everything. She'd been sidelined since July 15th, dealing with quad and groin injuries, and the updates from the medical staff weren't exactly encouraging. There was no real timeline for her return, no reassuring promise of, she'll be back by next week. It was more like waiting in the dark, with fans and teammates holding their breath, hoping the league's most valuable star could find her way back before the season slipped away. But just when it seemed like things couldn't get any worse, the basketball gods decided to remind Indiana that rock bottom always has a trapdoor. First quarter against Phoenix. The game had barely started when it happened. Sydney Coulson, the veteran guard, the steady hand expected to help keep this team organized in Clark's absence, planted her left foot, tried to make a routine cut, and collapsed to the hardwood. The sound in the arena went quiet instantly. Fans didn't cheer, players didn't move, because everyone knew in that moment this wasn't just a regular fall. You didn't even need the slow-motion replay to realize that something serious had happened. Coulson clutched her knee, grimacing in pain as trainers rushed to her side. Teammates stood around helplessly, some with hands on their heads, others with hands clasped together, silently praying. And then came the dreaded confirmation. Torn ACL, season over. In a single play, Indiana didn't just lose a player, they lost one of their last remaining ball handlers, a veteran voice, and a leader who was supposed to help steady the ship during Clark's absence. It was the kind of injury that feels cruel, almost personal, as if the basketball gods were stacking the deck against the Fever. Losing Clark was already a devastating blow. Losing Colson that was like having the floor ripped out from under them. Fast forward to the fourth quarter of that same game. The Fever were already reeling from Colson's injury, and the atmosphere felt like every possession carried the weight of the season. Then it happened again. Ari McDonald, their speedy backup, the spark plug off the bench, made a simple push off her right foot to drive. But instead of exploding toward the rim, she immediately came up hobbling. The crowd fell silent. Trainers rushed out. You could see it on her face before the diagnosis even came in. Something was broken. Moments later, the confirmation. A fractured bone in her right foot. Another season-ending injury. Another crushing blow. Just like that, 2 point guards, the primary and the backup, both gone within the same 40 minutes of basketball. This isn't the kind of setback you plan for. This is the kind of nightmare you'd expect to read in the pages of a sports novel, the too unrealistic to be true scenario. And yet, here it was, unfolding in real time. Think about it. It's one thing to lose your floor general. That alone can derail a season. But to lose your backup and the emergency backup in the exact same night? That's not just bad luck. That's not just adversity. That's a basketball apocalypse. For most teams, this is where the story ends, where the season collapses under the weight of impossible circumstances. But for the Indiana Fever, this was where their story really began.
You guys are unfortunately kind of familiar with injury updates this season, but I imagine yesterday's was probably pretty tough. Just what's the reaction been from you guys, the players, the coaches, to losing Sid and Ari?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, just brokenhearted for them. They're two really good people that you hate to see this happen to. They've been an integral part of what we've been doing, and so hate it for them. Unfortunately, it's part of the deal, and we've got to roll with it. And we've got players in that locker room who believe in one another. Players in that locker room who are as competitive as all get out. We've got versatility, and it's going to have to be on full display. So I think now it's about playing to honor them, right, and playing for them.
Coach Stephanie White had no choice but to go full improve mode. With her point guard rotation wiped out in a matter of minutes, she stood on the sideline facing a problem that no playbook could solve. After the game, she told reporters they'd be running the offense by committee. Now, in coach speak, that sounds organized, like there's a plan. But let's be real. By committee is basically basketball code for we're making this up as we go along. No safety net, no clear leader to handle the ball, no time to install a brand new system. It was survival mode, plain and simple. That meant players would have to step into roles they weren't built for. Shooting guards running the point, forwards handling the ball under pressure, and veterans being asked to steady a ship that was rocking violently in the middle of the storm. It wasn't just a lineup adjustment, it was a basketball identity crisis unfolding in real time. The Fever weren't going into games with polished sets and rehearsed execution anymore. They were about to become a team defined by improvisation, trusting instincts, leaning on chemistry, and hoping someone would rise to the moment. Fans, understandably, started to panic. Could this team even keep its head above water? Could they run an actual offense without a single natural point guard? Every question felt heavier than the last. And to make matters worse, the trade deadline had already passed. There was no miracle signing, no last-second pickup, no cavalry charging through the doors to save them. What they had was what they were stuck with. Chicago, meanwhile, had to be licking their chops. This was their chance. Up until this point, Indiana had owned them every matchup ending with the Fever walking away on top. But this game? This was supposed to be different. No Caitlin Clark, no Sydney Colson, no Ari McDonald. The Sky finally had the perfect opportunity to flip the script. On paper, the Sky had every advantage. They were facing a team stripped of its floor generals and robbed of its superstar. The narrative was practically writing itself. Chicago, desperate for revenge, finally breaking through against a wounded rival. But here's the thing about the Fever, and here's what Chicago failed to understand. Indiana wasn't just a team built on talent. They were a team built on something far harder to break: chemistry, grit, and collective willpower. The Sky thought they were walking into a matchup they could control. What they walked into instead was a lesson in how a team that trusts one another, a team that's willing to sacrifice, a team that believes in more than individual stats can rise above any adversity. Indiana didn't just come to play, they came to prove something: that this season wasn't about one star carrying the load, that the Fever weren't just Caitlin Clark and a supporting cast. They were a unit, and even with half their roster limping, they were more dangerous than Chicago ever expected.
Williams gonna have to hurry off the dribble, rolls out. Hull, open three. Oh, what a sight for Lexie Hull. She has needed that one to drop.
Lexie Hull catching fire.
Now Chicago just needs to get it a little bit more settled here in the half court. Nurse loses it. Mitchell 2-on-1. It's a foot race. Mitchell to Cunningham. Cunningham right there for two more.
Enter Lexie Hull. For weeks, she hadn't just been struggling, she'd been living in a shooter's nightmare. The kind of nightmare where the rim feels like it's shrinking smaller with every attempt. Shots she used to knock down effortlessly, the ones she could hit in her sleep during practice, were suddenly rattling out. The form was there, the mechanics looked clean, but the confidence? Gone. The numbers were brutal. Over the last 2 weeks, Hull was just 2 for 25 from beyond the arc. That's 8%. 8. For someone whose entire identity as a player revolves around her ability to stretch the floor and hit big shots, those numbers weren't just disappointing, they were soul-crushing. Her mom hadn't even seen her make a 3 since August 1st against Dallas. Think about that. Nearly 2 weeks of watching her daughter fire away without seeing the ball drop through the net. For any player, that's hard. For a shooter, that's torture. And it wasn't just about missing shots. This was deeper. This was mental. Hull had fallen into the kind of slump that creates a prison in your own head. You could see it in her body language. Wide open looks suddenly carried the weight of the world. Shots she used to take instinctively now came with hesitation. She wasn't just missing, she was second-guessing. Every clang off the rim added another brick to the wall of doubt. Every possession where she passed up an open 3 was a reminder that she wasn't herself. Her natural stroke had been replaced by overthinking that split-second delay that turns shooters into spectators. For Hull, the slump had become more than just a cold streak. It had become a mental block, the kind of barrier that makes the basket look no bigger than a coffee cup. And then came Phoenix, a game that felt less like basketball and more like punishment. Lexie Hull put up 11 shots and hit only 1. She went 0 for 8 from 3-point range, 2 points total. Painful doesn't even begin to describe it. This wasn't just a bad night, it was rock bottom. You could see it in her eyes. Every miss dug the hole deeper. Every possession felt heavier than the last. By the final buzzer, it looked like the slump had swallowed her whole. But sometimes, in the ashes of disaster, you get the moment that changes everything. After that game, it was Kelsey Mitchell who pulled Lexie aside. Mitchell, the team's leading scorer, the one who had every right to be frustrated herself, didn't scold, didn't lecture. Instead, she gave Lexie exactly what she needed. We still need you. We still believe in you. Simple words, but in sports, words like that can be everything. When a teammate says, "We believe in you," it's not just encouragement, it's validation. And sometimes, that's all it takes. One moment of belief, one spark. The kind of spark that can ignite a comeback story no one saw coming.
And then Lexie, what was it like to finally break out of that slump, and especially on a night when
It's all there.
when they needed you to?
Yeah, I mean, it feels good. It feels good to see the ball go through the net. But I think, every game, regardless, you're making shots, you're not, it feels really, really good to have,
your teammates behind you, and I definitely feel that every day. And it's fun. It was fun today to get to celebrate some of those.
Fast forward to Chicago. The tension in the arena was heavy, the kind of nervous silence you get when everyone's waiting to see if the team will sink or swim. Early in the game, the ball swung to Lexie Hull on the perimeter. This was the exact moment that had been haunting her for weeks. Wide open, teammates watching, defenders daring her to shoot, and sitting just a few feet away on the sideline. Caitlin Clark, the superstar, the face of the team, sidelined by injury but living every possession with her squad. Hull caught the ball. This time, there was no second guessing, no hesitation. She rose in rhythm, released with confidence, and the shot dropped. Clean, pure, nothing but net. Clark's reaction? Electric. She exploded off the bench like she'd just seen a buzzer beater. Hands in the air, yelling in pure joy, celebrating like she had made the shot. And honestly, in a way she had. Because that three-pointer wasn't just points on the scoreboard, it was a lifeline. A crack in the wall Hull had been building around herself. That single swish broke the dam. Confidence flooded back. Hull started hunting for shots instead of hiding from them. The body language shifted instantly, shoulders back, quicker movements, sharper reads. You could almost feel the momentum swing in real time. And here's the thing about basketball. Confidence is contagious. As Hull lit up, the whole team fed off it. Suddenly, Chicago wasn't just facing 5-player, they were facing a unit that smelled blood in the water.
Again, no Sydney Colson out for the year with the ACL tear. Lexie Hull, though, the bucket and the foul. He's dealt with so much scoring adversity lately.
Yeah, terrific baseline execution. She comes off the curl. Tell you what, this Fever team is going to be very dangerous, no matter the roster.
Oh, Lexie Hull! Heat checking her napalm era right now.
Once that lid finally came off the basket, Hull transformed. This wasn't the hesitant, second-guessing shooter fans had been watching for weeks. No, this was the confident, fearless version of Lexie Hull that Indiana drafted for moments just like this. She wasn't just looking for shots, she was demanding them. Every time she spotted daylight, she wanted the ball. By the end of the night, Hull finished 4 for 6 from deep with 17 points. But let's be real, the numbers only scratched the surface. What stood out wasn't just the buckets, but how she got them. She was cutting with purpose, moving without hesitation, finding open space like the game had finally slowed down for her. You could see the freedom in her body language, the doubt was gone. And the impact? Massive. Her plus 22 plus or minus told the real story. Indiana wasn't just winning the minutes she was on the court, they were dominating them. Every time she drained another three, the Fever's energy level spiked. Her teammates noticed. Aaliyah Boston was throwing up the 3 sign after makes, hyping her up like she just nailed a dagger in the finals. Sophie Cunningham literally wrapped Hull in a bear hug after one swish, like she knew they were watching something special unfold. Chicago? They had no idea how to respond. The scouting report said, leave Hull open that she'd been ice cold for weeks. Suddenly, the same strategy was burning them alive. It wasn't just points going on the board, it was momentum swinging hard in Indiana's favor. Hull's resurgence didn't just shift the game, it changed the tone. What was supposed to be a matchup where the Fever limped in, wounded turned into a showcase of resilience, chemistry, and belief. Then there was Kelsey Mitchell. Let's be real, this woman has made her name as a walking bucket. She's been one of the purest scorers in the league since her rookie year. But in this moment, she had to become something completely different, the primary playmaker. Running the point isn't just about bringing the ball up. It's about seeing the floor, anticipating plays, and putting teammates in position to score. That's not what Mitchell had been trained to do. But when the team needed her to do it, she stepped up.
Crazy that I'm like, when the song comes on, just like it's all there. Like you just gotta believe it, and I think Lexie knows that we believe in her. Our last game in Phoenix, I think we all were just a bit emotional about everything, and I think me and Lexie had an emotional moment because no one shot well, and I want her to know that we gonna count on her for what she brings to the table every night, and I'm gonna always stand by my teammates, so you never have to worry about that.
At first, you could literally see Mitchell wrestling with herself. Every possession was a tug of war between instinct and responsibility. Her natural wiring said, attack, get buckets, put pressure on the defense. But now, she had to resist that urge. She'd catch herself rising up for a pull-up jumper, only to pause mid-motion, redirect, and find a teammate. It looked awkward at first, like asking a sprinter to suddenly run in slow motion. But the adjustment didn't take long. As the minutes rolled by, her eyes seemed to open wider. The game slowed down for her. She started spotting passing lanes most players wouldn't even dare attempt. Pocket passes through traffic. Kickouts that hit shooters right in rhythm. Slip passes that led to uncontested layups. What stood out wasn't just that she was making the right reads, it was the confidence with which she was making them. Suddenly, Mitchell wasn't just surviving in this new role. She was thriving. By the final buzzer, she'd racked up a season high in assists, proof that she could do far more than just score. But here's the kicker. She never abandoned her scorer's DNA. When Chicago's defense sagged off, daring her to beat them, she rose up and buried shots. When they overplayed her passing lanes, she attacked downhill and made them pay. That dual threat left Chicago's defense in no man's land. Play her for the pass, she put points on the board. Play her for the shot, she dished dimes all night. It was like watching a player reinvent herself in real time, right in the middle of a must-win game.
Yeah, Kelsey, you obviously had to play out of position tonight, kind of filling that point. You had a season high 8 assists. Just how did you try to embrace that for this game and kind of?
Oh man, I haven't played point guard. I was telling the girls I haven't played point guard maybe since college, and so that was different. But I think it brings out the vulnerable side of me, the leadership in which I need to keep getting better at and keep growing at. I think being in this PG position kind of helps with that. And I think I believe in my team, so seeing my assists, go up is just because of these girls. We have an unbelievable chemistry when it comes to, seeing and reading each other, so I think they made me look good tonight.
This is what makes Indiana so dangerous as the postseason approaches. They're no longer just the Caitlin Clark show. They've discovered real, reliable weapons across the roster. From the start, Coach Stephanie White has pushed a culture built on toughness, unity, and selflessness. Nights like this show that it's paying off. Hull broke free from her shooting drought. Mitchell expanded her game and proved she could orchestrate an offense. Boston held everything together inside, dominating the paint like a true anchor. What we're seeing isn't just raw skill, it's chemistry in motion. It's a collective belief in each other. And that belief is exactly what separates contenders from pretenders once the playoffs begin.
Just to add to that, I think Kelsey's not giving herself enough credit. Her and Sophie putting themselves before the team, making sure that they're sacrificing, playing out of position, doing things that they don't normally do, maybe uncomfortable, but I think they both really did a great job of sacrificing in those moments and doing what the team needed to do.
My girl, sexy Lexie.
And here's the scary part for the rest of the WNBA. Indiana pulled this off without Caitlin Clark. Think about that for a second. This wasn't their star dropping 30 and carrying the team on her back. This was the Fever proving they can punch above their weight, even when stripped of their floor generals and their biggest offensive weapon. Now, just imagine what happens when Clark comes back. A team that just dismantled Chicago without her suddenly gets its best playmaker, its most marketable star, and its deadliest shooter plugged back into the lineup. That's not just a boost, that's a transformation. They're ceiling rockets from scrappy playoff hopeful to nightmare matchup for anyone in the league. They had every excuse to fold. They could have crumbled after Coulson and McDonald went down in the same night. They could have let those back-to-back losses to Phoenix and LA derail their momentum. Instead, they adapted. They grew. They evolved into something more dangerous.
She is her own worst critic. She's a perfectionist. She wants everything to go right all the time. And, it was nice to see the ball go through the net for her and for her to play with such confidence. For us, we believe that every time she shoots it, it's going to go in. But for her to finally feel that and see that and play with so much confidence, it's big for us. We need her. She always does the little things that don't show up on the stat sheet, but when she knocks down shots, we're a different team.
This win wasn't just about a single night or a single opponent. It was about sending a message across the league. Indiana isn't going anywhere. They're resilient, they're battle-tested, and they're building the kind of chemistry that doesn't just win games in August, it wins playoff series in September. So,
I mean, I'm proud of this group. I think we've shown all season long, like, they're resilient, they're connected, they pull for each other, they enjoy one another, they celebrate one another, and, that stuff alone is good for 10 to 12 points a game. And, for this group, the way that they share the ball, how unselfish they are. I mean, I'm really proud of them. It's not been ideal circumstances all season long, but they've shown the character of who they are. They've been resilient. They've responded to adversity, and they continue to elevate one another. And, I couldn't be more proud of this group than I am at this moment.
But when the Fever walked off the court with a 92-70 win, their 4th straight over Chicago this season, it wasn't just about another win, it was about sending a message. We can beat you in more ways than one.
I mean, I'm proud of this group. I think we've shown all season long, like, they're resilient, they're connected, they pull for each other, they enjoy one another, they celebrate one another, and, that stuff alone is good for 10 to 12 points a game. And, for this group, the way that they share the ball, how unselfish they are. I mean, I'm really proud of them. It's not been ideal circumstances all season long, but they've shown the character of who they are. They've been resilient. They've responded to adversity, and they continue to elevate one another. And, I couldn't be more proud of this group than I am at this moment.
Chicago, they're staring down another season at the bottom of the standings. Indiana, they're building something special, something the whole league is starting to notice. Comment Fever Show if you believe in this team. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the next story. Click the video on screen, and we'll see you there.